Have you ever stopped to wonder how these massive multinational military forces actually get anything done together? Well, today we're diving into the universal language that makes it all possible, and we're using a pretty fascinating guide to do it, an official technical English manual straight from the Spanish Air Force. Let's jump in.
That's the million-dollar question, right? And the answer isn't some high-tech gadget or a universal translator straight out of sci-fi. It's something way more fundamental. It's all about standardized procedures and a common framework for communication. And it all starts with the basics, like who's in charge here?
So imagine for a second you're a Spanish airman. It's your first day on a NATO base. You're surrounded by folks from the US, Germany, Turkey, Canada, you name it. First things first, before you do anything else, you've got to figure out the pecking order. And that's where NATO's system is an absolute lifesaver.
The solution they came up with is actually brilliantly simple. To cut through all the confusion of a bazillion different rank titles, NATO just created a simple code. OR stands for Other Ranks. That covers all enlisted personnel and non-commissioned officers. And OF stands for Officers. You just add a number to show seniority, and bam, you got a universal translator for the entire military structure. So let's take a look at the enlisted side. This system just makes everything so clear. A Spanish Cabo, for example, is an OR4. That's the same as a senior airman in the U.S. Air Force. And you'll notice here, a Sargento and a Sargento Primero, they both fall under the same OR7 code. Now, you wouldn't actually call someone OR7 to their face, of course, but it's this handy administrative tool that instantly tells everyone where they fit in.
And when we hop over to the officer corps, the system keeps things just as clear. A Spanish teniente, that's a lieutenant, is an OF1. A comandante is an OF3, which lines up with a major. This simple code just erases any confusion about the leadership hierarchy. So a Spanish captain knows exactly where they stand next to a captain from literally any other NATO country. No guesswork, it's just immediate understanding.
Okay, so our airman knows who the officers are. Awesome. What's next? Well, actually talking to them. And you better believe, in the military, that involves some very specific, very formal procedures.
Yeah, this is not a casual chat by the water cooler. It is a highly structured dance. First, you have to request permission just to enter the room. Then you state your name, why you're there, and you wait. You wait for a command like at ease or carry on. And when it's all over, you can't just walk out. You have to formally ask to be dismissed. Every single step is designed to reinforce that chain of command and make sure interactions are disciplined and super efficient.
Of course, it's not all rigid formality, right? The manual also goes over the universal greetings we all know and use. Things like, how are you, or pleased to meet you, are just as common on a military base as anywhere else. They're the building blocks of just, polite, everyday conversation.
But then you get into these really unique military traditions, like the hail and farewell. This is a formal ceremony, a big deal, where a unit officially welcomes new members, especially new commanders, and says a proper goodbye to those who are leaving. It's a huge part of building that sense of family and morale in a unit.
Now, it's super important not to get this tradition confused with all the bureaucracy. Think of it like this. The hail and farewell is the official welcome party. It's a social event all about morale. In processing, on the other hand, that's like your first day at a new job with HR. It's all about signing forms, getting your gear, your helmet, your weapon, and getting set up in the system. One is for the heart, the other is for the paperwork.
All right, so our service member has been welcomed, they've been processed. What about the day-to-day stuff? This is where the standard operating procedures, or SOPs, basically become the official language of the base.
In this world, efficiency is absolutely everything. For routine updates, you don't need to write a novel. If everything's normal, the standard report is just NTR, nothing to report. Or if you're writing it, NSTR, nothing significant to report. Like, Sir, B Company's formed by 33, NTR. That's it. It's incredibly concise, and everyone knows exactly what it means.
And that same obsession with efficiency, it even applies to something as basic as answering the phone. There's a clear three-part formula. You say where you are, then who you are, and finally, you offer to help. This structure just vaporizes any confusion and gets right to the point.
And here is a perfect example pulled right from the manual. The proper way to answer the phone is, Logistics Group, Defect Management, Master Sergeant Lopez speaking, how may I help you? Boom. In one single breath, the caller knows exactly where they've called, who they're talking to, and that the person on the other end is ready to help. It's the absolute peak of clear, efficient communication.
You're also going to hear a ton of acronyms, for sure. One of the really common ones is TDY, which stands for temporary duty. This just means any assignment at a different place for a limited amount of time, so if someone says she's going on TDY to Spain, she will be gone for 6 months, you know exactly what's happening.
Okay, let's switch gears. We've talked about the words and the procedures, now let's get into the physical side of things, because understanding the gear you wear is just as important as understanding the language you speak.
So the manual lays out 5 main types of USAF uniforms, and each one has a very specific job. You've got your combat uniforms for daily work, what the Spanish manual calls the uniforme de campaña. Then things get more formal, from the service dress for office wear all the way up to the mess dress, or etiqueta, which is for your fanciest formal events. Each uniform is basically sending a signal about the situation at hand.
And then, beyond the uniform, you have the essential protective gear. We're talking about everything from the helmet and tactical vest to the combat boots and gloves. Each piece is part of a standardized system, a kit that's designed to keep a service member safe and effective when it really counts. It's pretty much the personal armor of a modern soldier.
And of course, we've got to talk about the weapons. Every single service member has to know their rifle or long gun and their pistol, their handgun, inside and out. And this isn't just about knowing how to shoot. It's about having a universal language for maintenance, for training, for safety drills. Being able to call out the magazine or the stock has to be second nature for everyone, no matter what their native language is.
All right, for our last piece, we're looking at maybe one of the most powerful and yet simplest communication tools on any military base. A simple, color-coded system that tells everyone instantly what the current threat level is and exactly what they need to do.
Seriously, think about this for a second. How do you communicate a sudden change in the security situation to thousands of people at once? You're not going to send out a long email. No way. You use a system that everyone gets just by looking at it.
And this table right here is the answer. A single color tells everyone everything they need to know. At green, it's business as usual. But if that base state suddenly flips to red, the instructions are immediate and universal. Weapons are ready, helmets and vests are mandatory, and all vehicle movement is restricted. It is the ultimate example of standardized communication. One color instantly communicates a whole set of complex, critical instructions to an entire community. So from rank codes and reporting procedures all the way down to a simple color system, the military absolutely relies on clarity to function as a global alliance. It kind of makes you wonder, in our own jobs, our own teams, our own daily communication, where could a little more standardization help us all work together just a little bit better?